All right, sorry, there was a bit of a technical issue. Moving on, so so when you have that chat boxes in the Zoom messages board, I really hope that basically that we can. I hope that basically we can establish a baseline that, oh, okay, you can ask me anything in the chat box, or even verbally when the time comes. And of course, as pointed out by the moderator, we're always going to give you time to discuss. So we either can reach, we can either read your messages at the end of the model topics, or we can just ask it outright. All right. So in order for you to get the full benefits of today's programs, again, I can give you my expertise, my experience, and my technical advice. However, I do appreciate if you guys can give me your expertise and your insight on the method itself as well, right? Because people can ask questions from very different areas, and it carries a very different meaning depending on whoever is asking, right? Now, moving on. So yesterday, I talked about a bit about fundamentals. So apologies for those second comers or people who are repeat customers to my to this webinar series. I talk about a bit more fundamentals. All right. So for those of you who just joined us today, apologies. I'm just going to go about it quickly so that I'm making sure that you're not left behind. All right. So I focus more on the fundamentals. Again, the reasoning behind it, I give you one instances where one platform of marketing and digitalization is not beneficial to the company when the company itself does not practice it. So again, we make it much more purposeful. So you need, in order to make it purposeful, the base idea behind it would be just get the fundamentals right. So for example, if you're a company which doesn't have a digital component, doesn't have a digital marketing tool, which doesn't engage in customers online, so again, you can start from scratch. Don't just pick whatever is convenient or pick whatever is taught on you. It's fine. It's fine just to define who are your customers, what value do you bring to them, do they need this online component? Because again, some businesses that I deal with are purely non-technological. It's just networking, knowing people, and just talking the talk and walking the walk. That's it. So they don't need a lot of digital or technological components to find mass market customers. They know their customers very well already. But of course, digital tools would help them greatly in their businesses, right? And of course, sometimes it's age. if they don't have a capacity, that company or the entrepreneur themselves don't have the capacity to go forward to adopt new technological solutions, new digital media, new digital avenues, then again, the fundamentals are not right, because why teach people what they don't want to teach or what they think they don't need, unless you change their mind first, right? So get the fundamentals right. So this is a very famous quote by I guess one of the best athlete and richest athlete in the world, Michael Jordan. So you can do everything, you can practice shooting 8 hours a day, but if your technique is wrong, then all you become is very good at shooting the wrong way. You need to get the fundamentals down, and the level of everything you do will rise, right? So yesterday I talked a bit about the basics. So again, I'm not planning on teaching anybody basic business, basic economy, and how to start a business and how to manage a business. I'm not interested in doing that today. However, I just want to refocus the entrepreneurs, anybody who's here today, on those two key values in any business, right? It can be digital, it can be agriculture, it can be makcik yang jual pisang goreng tepi jalan. So what are your value proposition and your customer profile, all right? So usually when you go to any entrepreneurship programs, this is what you are taught, i.e. what should your value proposition be, and what should you do in order to find out a customer, who are your customer segments, and what is your customer profile. So again, by this point of time, those of you who join us are probably existing business owners, right? That's how within certain networks you are aware of this program, and of course most of you already established yourselves within this industry to get that network. So that's why you're here. So you don't need for me to ask you to find a new value proposition, new customers. You just need to refocus, because again, you already have this in within your company, within yourself as entrepreneurs. You have your own value proposition, you have your own customer profile. It's just that you right now at this point of time, at this stage in your business life, is just that what value is actually that you give to your customers. What value right now is important for you to give to your customers, and whether they accept it or not, and so on. And regarding the customers, is that okay? Who are your customers? You should know by now who are your customers. Usually with startups and usually with student entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs, is that they don't have the establishment just yet. They don't know their customers. They don't know if their value matches with the customers, because when we talk about value, is very subjective. The acceptance level from different market segments is very different. For example, when we talk about internet, yes, internet back then was just, oh, I just need a wire line, and I'll probably get somewhere around 128 to 512 kilobits per second. When that was what 15-20 years ago, but right now it's totally unacceptable, right? So when we're heading into that direction, we just need to refocus back into what are our value proposition again, and who are our customers. Does the value transfer efficiently to the customer, and is the value currently widely accepted, still accepted by the customer? Because sometimes customers feel they don't need it anymore. All right. Yesterday I gave a nice example of Telecom Malaysia. Right. They are currently one of the biggest telecommunications company in Malaysia. However, I mean, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, their mandate was not internet. Their mandate was basically just payphones and landlines in infrastructure. But now it's all the fiberization, all about internet connectivity and so on. So if the value that they give in the 1980s, 1990s are still being delivered today, which they are good at. I have no doubts that Telecom Malaysia can, like for example, Malaysia, there's a new communication plan. Everybody has landlines anymore. So I have no doubts that Telecom Malaysia is fit for the job and able to scale up that. However, would the value be widely accepted by customers? Telecom Malaysia even knows that. That's why they stop packaging phone lines to customers, because customers don't want them. Customers see that as a added cost, and of course, other competitors started first. People said, hey, you just want the internet, right? So why bother paying that extra 10 ringgit, 19 ringgit extra for a phone line that you never use, that they keep bundling it up for you, and basically that it doesn't carry that much value to you now, because everybody in your family has a smartphone right now. So probably it's not important to you. You probably need high-speed connectivity. This is our bundle. This is how cheap we can go for you. So that's why the value changes from time to time. All right. We'll talk more about it. So one of the big things that especially from everybody who was here today, can digitalizing your business improve your productivity and profitability of the company? Yes, essentially, but there are a few caveats. So we'll go through them together. All right. I've hinted of a few because I want to make it more purposeful. So again, I hope to hear and see a lot of questions from all of you, so that as we move on into this journey of learning, I'll get a bit more in-depth knowledge about where you're coming from. And my advice can be targeted towards you. I dare not say that all entrepreneurs are the same. They have all the same, they're a monolith. They have all the same wants and they need to find a customer. No, I honestly don't think that way. With my experience with dealing with thankfully thousands of people a year with regards to training, skills and entrepreneurship. I know for a fact that not everyone is the same. Everybody probably has the same interest, but they're not the same, and their interests can be even be varied, even if they're part of the same group, right? Now, so yesterday we touched a bit on startups and SME, and essentially that's where most of you are fallen into, whether you're a startup SME or you're a multinational corporation. It's fine. I've worked with a few before. However, there is a bit of confusion, as well as how do I say this, as well as getting to understand the core concept of what a business really is. Because again, with Malaysia's push, as well as various ministries push towards, you know, making people much more self-reliant, but they can generate their own income and explore the opportunities that is available to them within Malaysia as well as overseas. So there is a lot of confusion where, oh, what actually is a business, and what is a startup, what is a business, how do we start the process, which is good. Don't worry, that's part of my bread and butter. That's what I do daily. However, of course, I don't want to teach entrepreneurs, especially established ones, much like yourselves, to start a new business. I'm teaching you guys either to scale up or how to do better, in a sense. All right. So I guess the main thing that I would like to highlight to all of you is the differences between a startup and an SME, especially in Malaysia. So a startup, the icon is a nice rocket ship. Yeah, because if you want to be innovative, you want to be motivated to the customers, and rightly so, they can achieve astronomical feats within a short span of time with relatively little to no resources at all. That's what startups are. That's what new entrepreneurs are. And SMEs are big corporate giants. You see that in the icon, with a lot of people behind it, with a lot of, I guess, assets. If you see a building behind it, so basically they're very much established. So the key differences between I want to highlight to all of you, because again, I'm not going to ask you to define, or I'm not going to define it directly. If you, especially the participants here today and yesterday, are in a business that has an unvalidated business model, you're probably a startup. Doesn't matter if you're 10 years, 15 years, 5 years. If you have a not yet validated business model, then you're in the startup category. It's fine. But whether you're profitable or non-profitable, whether you're 5 years, 10 years down the road, you're still a startup. I know. That's what, oh no, Dr. Imran, startups are usually 6 months to 9 months. I know. I'm just telling you now, where you are right now, those participants who are here today. Again, I'm not interested in helping 90% or 99% of the world's entrepreneurs. I'm interested in helping you here today. So for those of you here today, your business model is still not validated yet. You're still a startup, despite how old you are or how old your business are, right? So when your businesses or business has regular customers, regular revenues, i.e. One of the key components of a validated business model, then you're an SME. Regardless whether, we're still a startup because we only made 80,000 last year, we only made 90,000 last year. Again, listen to me. It doesn't matter whether the definition by Malaysia's government, by the SME corporation, agencies in Malaysia, is I'm interested in identifying where you are right now, right? Okay, so if you have regular customers, regular revenue income from customers, then definitely you're already an established company, whether you're small, medium, or micro, small, or medium, right? Okay, so this is what I need to teach you. So there's also a caveat with startups and scaling up to an SME, right? So it's more about, all right, what you want and what you are. It's just that. So most startups, they want to be an SME, but an established business, a multinational corporation, they want the flexibility as well as the drive and innovation from what you expect from startups. That's why whenever people hear startups, their minds usually thinks usually a light bulb as well as a cash sign. So maksudnya usually they have very innovative ideas and they make a lot of money. That's why I guess the story of how a big giant and that nobody could take down for over 50, 80 years can easily be taken down by a startup. For example, the taxi industry. It's a big industry in Malaysia before it crippled down as well as worldwide. But when ride-hailing such as Uber, Lyft, and in Malaysia Grab, they easily, that one startup can easily derail all of that because it created something new that the customers look for. So that's why there's a lot of like who you are and what you want to be, because I promise you, some multinational businesses, you see them doing unique things like Google and Apple because they are trying to be startups. Right? Okay, Apple, we allow a lot of free thinking periods among our employees, a lot of project times dedicated among our employees to do whatever they want. Doesn't mean that it has to be profitable for Google or Apple. So again, because they want to encourage the startup mentality, because that's what startups do. Startups will they just think about a product and a solution. They just think about it, and the commercialization comes later, which is again, it's a big kryptonite for startups because they need the money. They have good ideas, but I guess most of the participants here today can relate that they don't have the commercialization aspects of it just yet. They have good ideas, it's just that how do we make money? Don't know, but it's neat and fun, right? So if you look at this, you can refer to this, and you see that the startup and the small scale up to a small business. So usually when we talk about an unvalidated business model, which is we're just finding out about customers. That's it. Remember our slides previously. Sorry, apologies. I just need to go back a few slides. Remember our slides previously about value proposition and customer segments. Usually startups, they have not find the true meaning of this yet. So sometimes they have an idea. Oh, it's a free driving app. Oh, but how do we actually get money? It's okay. It's free driving app. So the more people use it, the more data that it gets from active users, and then they can track the traffic jams, they can track if there's any accidents, so on and so forth. And then of course the finance or the CEO or people who invest in the company say, how do we make money from this? It's okay, we'll just talk about what's neat about the technology first. They want to establish that. So once that technology, that value has been clear cut, because again, what startups do is actually they try it out and see, oh, people are not interested, or people are interested. So when they finally come up with a product or a service, they test it out with the market. So finding a customer, which is very costly, which is very time consuming, because you cannot to educate somebody on something new is very tedious. I mean, look at the school system in Malaysia. In Malaysia, most people go through public school, not in college or university, public school somewhere around 12 to 10 years, 10 to 12 years. If you get kindergarten, congratulations, because some of it is not provided, and then of course 5 years of primary school, and then 5 years of high school. So it's more about just to educate someone is tedious and takes a long time. So it's the same thing with any business model. For you to just educate somebody is very, very difficult, because you don't have their attention span. University students, yes, you can, because there's scheduled classes, there's a scheduled timeline of the learning journey. But with customers, hey, I don't really have to learn this. They don't need to learn all of these new things that you're going to sell them, especially if they're going to pay for it, right? So with startups, it's more about educating. So of course, it's very time consuming. So that's why, if you notice, when startups, when they kind of like want to educate you, want to deliver their value, said, oh, in the case of ride hailing, it's kind of, oh, it's like a taxi, but it's cheap. and it's secure, and you can share your journeys, and you can share your safety issues. So basically we become one big taxi agent company, and you can ride for cheap in our cars. And we have instead of our drivers having taxi driver licenses, they just have a normal license. And instead of insurance being covered by the taxi company, insurance is being covered by the insurance that the drivers have on their car. So it's basically they're just explaining things one by one with the nearest point of reference that everybody can understand. Right now I'm not sure with my nieces and nephews. Some of them are a bit old, but the oldest is 12 years old. So again, I don't know when I'm going to talk to her in another couple of years. Oh, just take a taxi. She probably doesn't know what a taxi is by then. So, but yeah, the next point of reference was say, oh, Uber. So this one is something like Uber, but this is more fun or more cheap, for example. So that's usually how it is, or Grab in Malaysia, of course. So it's like that. So they use a point of reference that everybody can access because to demonstrate the value. Because like I said, re-educating and educating your customers are a serious hassle, right? So now, the reason why startups can do all of these innovative and game-changing ideas is actually that just because of their startup. Because by definition, they're just people trying things out. So you don't really need a big office space. You don't really need things that you don't need. You don't need to have marketing so much. So you have less manpower, less people, less facilities, less assets, and of course, less cost. So that's why with startups, they go to the direction which is most innovative, because again, they don't burn cash as big as the big players. A small startup in Malaysia is even at 15,000 ringgit a month to run that business, that startup process is probably I guess 1 million times much more cheaper than the daily operations of Apple US. So again, you have that distinction. Oh, we need to make payroll. We need to pay for our technicians, software engineers. We need to recruit all these smart people from the MIT and all of these big universities in America, and we need to conduct a cohesive environment so that our engineers and our data analytics guys can come up with something new for our products. Whereas startups, we're doing that already. So we don't need $1 million a day in cost to do that. We're already doing that in probably like $200, $300 a day in your cost. So again, it's more about that level of efficiency and how they can just jump from one point to another. It's very simple because they don't have a lot of things at stake. They don't have equipment, they probably rent it out, or they just send it to a lab. They don't have facilities, they just probably rent it out. They don't have full-time workers, they just have employees or part-time employees, or the entrepreneurs themselves are doing those jobs. So again, they don't have much to do, they don't have much, I guess, things weighing in now, so they can move fast, right? So, but again, it's very precarious because you don't know whether your value has been defined yet. So when you want to scale up, the first thing that you do is actually just to get your business model validated. Remember, the only differences between this and that startup and SMEs is actually one has unvalidated business model. I mentioned to you previously, doesn't matter whether you're 5 years, 7 years, 10 years established. If you don't have a validated business model, you're a startup. If you, doesn't matter whether you're 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, if you have regular revenue, regular customers, i.e. you validated your value proposition, is being accepted by the customers, and the customers are paying for that value products or services, or the value that you deliver, you are probably heading into a scale up, i.e. you're scaling up, i.e. establishing an SME, right? A small business, right? Because of that, just because of that validation. Once it becomes validated, then suddenly, oh, okay, actually, this is what our customers want. Again, they're getting to know the customers. You just know, just by knowing your customers, and whether your value whether your value that you want to deliver matches with the value that they want, then you just work on that, and that's how you become an SME. When you do that automatically, is that you start see that regular customers or more customers coming in out of word of mouth, out of just good business practices. Then you suddenly aware, oh, suddenly, like for the past 2-3 months, our income has been 30,000-40,000 a month. Oh yeah, that's why the regular interval of the customers makes sense. Then you're probably an SME by then. All right, so it usually takes a bit of more time, but however, doesn't the time requirement is not there to, oh, you need 6 months, 9 months, or no, it's just a guideline. If you can do it within 2 days, you can do it within 3 days, is much more preferable. But of course, and they can do. Again, as Puan Hasrina has mentioned yesterday, I do a lot of aid in teaching and helping entrepreneurs, especially in the rural areas, poor connectivity, as well as most of them either don't have a high school education or just have that, barely have that. And most importantly, they're in the B40 community. So when I was just asking what value proposition that this one mother can have, said, oh, it's actually because, oh, I do a lot of things. And then she told me one-on-one, because again, with certain entrepreneurs, especially the ones who I need, I focus on what they can do. I kind of like, oh, okay. I don't teach about the customer segment first. Just tell me what you can do, because of course your resources are limited and you need to take care of yourself first before you take care of your customers, right? So because she's B40, her customers might not be B40. So when we talk about it one by one, so suddenly she said that she can do this, she can do that, and suddenly, oh, okay, what? if you're confident, why don't we just start instead of, because it's a hassle, you don't have a lot of time in your household, in your day, to find individual customers. Why don't we find B2B customers? I mean, we find other businesses that you can help with. She's a food product person, so she creates food products, and I mean, simple stuff, umpama macam kuih-kuih and goreng pisang for untuk makan, so she can just supply. And then suddenly, out of pure luck, as I asked her to do homework, I call it homework, but it's actually just tasks for her to scale up her business. And basically, she got like a few contracts, a few contracts, or a few inquiries in order to supply to other businesses, to other restaurants and other cafeterias. And I said, okay, go ahead, let me review the documents. Right, go ahead, you can sign this, or you can just discuss with the person in charge, and then you can go on through the process. And suddenly we change your business model from, just selling by the street to, just waking up at 3 or 4 a.m., just cooking up a big batch and sending to 3 or 4 restaurants and cafeterias every day. And by 10 a.m., she's done with her day. So again, it's more about that. So we're just finding, all right, instead of individual customers, find other businesses that probably need your skills and your help, the right cost, the right selling point. And from a startup, from something that's not validated, we scale up, and suddenly, Dr. Imran, it's okay. This contract, oh, it's very good, Dr. Imran. I'm happy with this. I can even work one weekend every week. That's it. I don't even have to work on Monday to Friday, because I have kids and other responsibilities. So yeah, just because of that portion, we just find out our price were dirt cheap, and we can sell to other businesses, and the businesses sold our products for a profit. So it's a valid business model, even at that small scale. At anybody's case, it's more about, a startup will usually have a big technology input, very innovative ideas, but again, they still can't match that with their value proposition, because most of the time it's a neat idea, but who's going to pay for it? That's also a big hurdle. So for me, it's more about, okay, I mean, who do you sell to? I mean, who are your actual customers? We don't have any customers. Good, it's fine. It's good that you know that you don't have any customers. If you don't have any customers, then your first priority is to find them. It's that answer, although quite bad. I don't know who my customers are. I usually red flags for banks and any investment firm, right? But for me, it's like, oh, it's good. You don't know who your customers are. At least now we can find them, because my strategy is always, is to help them make things easier. So if you want to rely on your customers, don't find them in a hypothetical area. Just find them where you usually find your old customers. hey, who are your old customers? Oh, my old customers are usually, people in my neighborhood, community WhatsApp, and they're usually, friends and neighbors. And when uh, when I post orders, they usually fill up. So good, focus more on that. So, you start to get the bills of it. So suddenly, slowly grow your customer base within a certain area that you're comfortable with, and the other people might come in afterwards, right? So it's quite, but it's not that simple, but at least there's a process to it, right? With a startup to an SME business model, this is the way to do. Number one, find your value proposition, fully define it, find your customers, fully define your customer segments, and finally, get it at regular intervals. You will automatically have an SME. Again, that's how I can help you with this, right? Again, you're free to agree or disagree, because again, I look forward to having a discussion with all of you later. So these are usually the parameters when a startup becomes a SME. More control over the processes, less outsourcing, growing customers, and fulfill the market demand, i.e., people look to you to get like kuih-kuih murah. Yeah, probably that's why my entrepreneurs that when they sell to other businesses, they're quite renowned among other businesses because it's cheap or the quality is very good. So the same can be applied to you. So when you have a very huge market access, suddenly it's, hey, I'm very small. I only make what, in her case, probably like 1,000 to one weekend of selling to other restaurants and cafeterias, and but that's good enough for her. But for other businesses, it's fine because she has a validated business model now, not. And I can't even say that to even all the participants here today. So because again, I don't know whether your business model is validated or not. But again, it's a huge concern if we don't know those two key areas: value proposition as well as our customer segments, right? Now, so how to do it? It's more about this is how you move from A to B to C, i.e. from startup to scaling up as well. So in order to do it, it takes a lot of process. I like to implement a bit of lean management. So again, there's a famous story by, not a story, that's just famous in the history books of Japan. The automotive industry, usually manufacturing. At that point of time, back in the 70s, 80s, 60s, 70s, 80s, the biggest technology that humankind, not just Malaysians, humankind, Americans, Chinese, Japanese, Malaysian, everybody in the world that can achieve were automotive cars. Not airplanes. Airplanes, yes, but they were not as innovative. People just came, propeller, and then right until the ETs, they started experimenting with turbines, and right now we're still on turbines. We don't have any other new form of technology. But with cars, they start coming out with all of these things that gasoline powered vehicle, but very different mechanization, internal combustion engines. Some of it they use boosters, turbochargers. So there were a lot of that. However, it's very costly because the only reason why people are heading to that direction, because not even with aeronautics and aviation in the world, not everybody flies, because again, most people are just contented to just drive, right? So most people, they need to drive at that point of time, whether you're in America or Malaysia at that point of time, they are highly sought after vehicle mode of transportations, cars, right? So when you hear all of this in German automotive brands, British, of course, British was Great Britain was once a powerhouse in the automotive sector. Yes, like all of the high-end cars are either German or British. That's it, and they sell them all over the world. Of course, right now you can't even name a few of them. When you think about maybe Mini Cooper, it's not a British car, it's a German brand now. So again, it's very it takes you a long time to think, this is actually a British brand. So the only automotive industry that survived and actually that thrived throughout those periods are actually Japanese automotive manufacturers. The famous ones are Toyota and Honda. And this is how they did it. They did it, this principle of does it work? Yes. And if it doesn't work, go back to the drawing board, because they tried simple modifications of the business process, because they know the customers are okay. The customers, they want what they want. They want cars, they need cars, and they're willing to shell out a few bucks for it. But for the, you know, the manufacturing of the engines and getting, because the car, if you me being with my background, to get to source raw materials for rubbers and for tires, and then to get those tires fitted and modified and specified to our models, it's going to take a lot of time and handy. So again, and of course, and then the axles connected to the powertrain, and of course you have the internal combustion engines, and then if you have the chassis, you have the body, you have all of the the seatings, upholstery, as well as all the equipment. So it takes a long time just to explain that. However, the Japanese automotive manufacturer, I think Mitsubishi Toyota famously invented a process they call lean management principles, lean logistics, whereby they just, all right, let's look at this process, see how we can make it better, and whether we need it to be conducted simultaneously. Because again, if, for example, if your warehouse, your factory production is doing something, it cannot do something else. So they said, oh, we can easily do this in a process, ship it in one part, and then just put it in somewhere else in a warehouse, and finally we'll assemble it there. So again, so they clear all of their processes and see which one is important. And instead of, you know, 10 factories manufacturing 100% of the cars at 100% of the time, right now just focusing on still 100% of the time, you know, not 100% of the cars, maybe, you know, one component here, one component there, one component here, and then everybody runs smoothly. Because again, when you're focusing on just one thing, it suddenly becomes easier. And of course, at the end of the day, that principle is adopted everywhere. So you don't have anybody in the world that doesn't practice that sort of lean logistics and lean manufacturing principles. Even right now, when you hear that, Xbox gaming and PS5, as well as Ford and Tesla automotive vehicles, the problems that they have, they call it supply chain problems, right? Why? Because last time they did everything in-house. All the computer chips are stored in the factory, all the tires are stored in the factory, and then they assemble, they do everything from scratch and assemble everything there. But now everybody is dependent on, we don't have to manufacture those computer chips. We have to manufacture them in Malaysia. Yes, Malaysia is one of the biggest automotive chip manufacturers in the world. And of course, with COVID and the pandemic, as well as supply chain disruptions, we cannot fulfill that need. So that's why in America right now, some cars in America, they don't have those chips that Malaysia makes. They sell it for cheap because, you don't have climate control, you don't have deep heated seats, you don't have climate control seats. So yeah, you don't have a lot of features because of the supply chain issues. When those issues are just this principle, all right? So it's more about whenever you want to do this, is actually think about the creative process. So usually this is the 4 key steps that you want to do in anything that you want to start off with business. Just prepare first, because again, people always watch, I'm not prepared for this. Why am I doing this? Just get prepared first. That's why I started off this morning session with a bit of preparation, laying the foundation so that everybody understands where I'm going with. I don't, tiba-tiba Dr. Imran is asking us to do this, reflect on our journey, reflect on our customers. Then you won't learn anything. But since I slowly prepare all of you, slowly you guys can start get the message, right? So preparation is key, right? That's number 1. Get all the facts in, get a dedicated time. If you're not ready, for example, I'm looking into other things and so on, so you don't have time, assign somebody else to do it, right? And then starts the incubation process. So once you're prepared, start to incubate. Incubate is very easy. It's kind of like, all right, just throw out all the problems in the world. It's kind of like, just start the thinking process. The best way to start the thinking process is just throw all of the problems, all of the pains, and all of the hullabaloos into your drawing board, into your blackboard, even if you're whiteboard, and then just see about, this one, yes, it's not a big problem and our customers don't really complain about it. This one is actually a sore spot for our customers. They not just for us. I mean, our competitors also cannot fix this. Maybe we want to think about it. So that's when you start illuminating. You're focusing on one problem that's illuminating the problem. So for example, as I mentioned, why are we still using landline phones when everybody has an internet plan? And even if we don't have internet plan, we can call our customers, we can call people via WhatsApp now, so we don't really need a landline anymore. So even if we want to make it cheap, we don't really need a landline anymore, right? So that's why we bundle up all our internet packages is just basically a modem, a media box, and that's it. Nothing more, and a router maybe, but that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. And for example, I think Maxis was the first to start this, but of course they make the customers pay a premium. Oh, customers are actually okay with the internet speeds, but they don't want to, just bring their laptops, bring their smartphones in front of the router because it's tedious. They want to serve the internet when they're in their room. So let's match up our customers. If they get a 2 months contract with us, let's give them a free mesh Wi-Fi, i.e., those are the things that you connect to your router and it expands your signal. So for example, last time you can get, high speeds in front of your living room where the router is, but right now you just put one router in your living room and one router where it needs to be, i.e., it can be like the kitchen, which is close to your bedroom, I don't know, and you will get the same speed. So again, suddenly a lot of customers, oh, that's actually quite good. So they're focusing on that. And lastly, verify. Suddenly, when you see customers saying, hey, actually, I would opt out of my contract with my competitor because your mesh Wi-Fi fixes a lot of problems. I don't want to do work in front of the TV cabinet anymore. I can just do work in my home office. I can just do work in my bedroom. I can just do work whenever it feels like, because with the mesh Wi-Fi, suddenly I get everything. Right? So that validation, that verification helps the proposal. And of course, one advice I can give you, which is very important, the best validation from a customer is money. I know some of you said, Imran said that some of us teach reviews. Yes, that's true. But I'm telling you, the best validation and verification from a customer that you need is actually money. It's very important. I give you an example. So if the plan with the mesh Wi-Fi is 129 ringgit, oh, okay, very good, and everybody accepts it. But hear me out. But if I say it's 399, suddenly said, oh, Dr. Imran, I don't think customers would do it. I said, no, it's fine. Tell me those customers don't want it. I don't want you to survey them or call them. Offer it out first. See whether they accept it or not. And suddenly, oh, what we could have sold for 199, now suddenly the customers with the added value, because people see that, oh, we have a modem and then we don't have it at home, but we add that value for the customers, and suddenly 399, our customers love it. So that validation shows that not only that they accept your value, but they accept it at whatever price that you're offering them, which is very important, because I think in Malaysia now with the rise of e-commerce shopping, everybody is very price sensitive. But if you can verify that your value deserves the price that it needs to be put on, definitely that validation and verification carries much more weight than others. Of course, word of mouth, as well as people say people giving reviews and commenting on them, it's all and good. But trust me on this, the verification from the customers that you need is how much are they willing to pay for? Are they happy to do it? What is the return rate and what is the returning customer rate, i.e. they're coming back and repurchasing that product or services again from you, so on and so forth. All right. So again, and you repeat this process all over again. Now, one thing that I can teach you is about reflective as well as independent learning. So for me, well, this is a bit to start to student wise, but of course I just want to highlight that we can't cover everything today, but two things that we can cover within this short span of time is independent as well as reflective learning. Independent learning is basically, Dr. Imran has mentioned, startups, what are the parameters startups? So what is an SME? So, I don't really know what my customers are saying about my company. Are they willing to accept my value or not? So independently, of course, we don't have time to, unless you're free to ask questions in the question and answer session later. Then verify it. So, oh, right, can I ask my accountant? Or can just ask customer, hey, I just want to ask, like, whether you like our product, everything. Is there anything that we can offer you for a Christmas sale, for something like that? So suddenly you start engaging with customers, seeing how your value works from your company to the customer. So that's all in good. The reflective learner is actually, an entrepreneur which said, wait, Dr. Iman cakap, bolehlah jual mahal. And then, tapi orang, Dr. Iman pun cakap, Malaysians are very price sensitive. Kalau kita jual mahal, suddenly yang tengok kat Shopee and Lazada, similar products, not our product, similar products from China, similar products from Thailand, similar products from outside Malaysia, and even some local competitors, they probably don't want our product because of price sensitive. Show me, tunjuk I. If you sell at $49.99 for 1 month, and then after a few months of poor sales or good sales, sell it at $19.99, which what you originally wanted. Show me the difference. And if you say that it's almost the same, sell for $49.99, because your value is widely accepted by those customers. So again, test things out in practice, right? So it's very important to test things out in practice. And the picture that I've showed you is this is how you test things out. It's kind of the lean management principles. Show it one by one. So the whole story between Toyota and Honda at that time, they try everything out. They put everything. They try to create their own tire brand. So don't let's not talk about that and those problems. Let's not talk about the failures. But again, essentially they fail a lot of times. They had an idea, does it work? It was no for 99 times until it became on the 100th and 139th time, it became a yes. Oh, it's profitable, right? So it's more about, does it work? And I have to highlight that whether it works or not, it requires the same process, verification. For me, when you want to test things out, instead of preparation, incubation, elimination, when you want to verify it, which is very important, it has to be external. You cannot internally verify that your product works or not, right? So that's why we have all of these backlashes with companies. Oh, earphone, there's no earphone jack in iPhones and Samsung phones anymore. The foldable screens are horrible and expensive. Yeah, because they thought that the customers want a phone and a tablet in one, and it's one small factor, and they're selling it at $2,000. So again, some customers are not too happy with that. The verification is that they now know, those companies, Samsung and iPhones now know that this is a pain point from the customer. So again, so even if there's no successes in that stage, they learn something new. When they learn something new from does it work to know, when they go back to the light bulb phase, actually our customers, they are a bit price sensitive. Maybe, just maybe, since we don't want to lose money, if we can reduce the quality, maybe we can sell it for cheap. And you try it out again, and if it's a resounding yes, you make profit, right? So that's usually it. Apologies, I definitely would love to explore this process with all of you later, but for now I think I'm just want to make sure my time is right. I want to open up the session for Q&A, right? So if there's any questions from the participants, I welcome them. All right.
Any questions, anyone?
Right. So if you haven't met me yesterday, so this is what I usually say. Say and tell participants. It's fine. You can unmute and introduce yourself, and you can not introduce yourself if you're shy, and you can just say what you're thinking. Right. So, but of course, you're more than welcome to put up any questions in the chat box. In the meantime, right. So so I'm guessing some of you are just typing. So if I can just get 1 minute to go back to that slide before, because I wanna finish up a bit on the topic. So when you want to try something new, while you're typing, go ahead and type those questions. I'll go back to the Q&A session. So when you try something new, always remember that the validation for the customers are usually a yes or no. Yes, but I prefer if the yes or no is a sale. So maksudnya that, for example, that's why when I ask entrepreneurs with relatively big brands, I say, oh, pre-order, buka pre-order, so that at least you're testing the market. Worst case scenario, you just refund them if it's because you don't incur costs if you're not delivering any value, right? So, or if you incur costs, that's on you. Because you're not giving any value to the customers. So the customer should not give you any revenue for that no value proposition, right? So just open up a pre-order and suddenly, oh my God, Dr. Imran, we have 10,000 ringgit in booking fees. I guess you should go with it. That's what I usually say to my entrepreneurs. You should go with it because clearly this is something that your customers want, right? So go ahead with it and probably launch a new product soon because see if it's 300 customers, probably your customers are more than happy to buy this regularly from you from now on. And probably these are just the people who are aware of the pre-orders. You're not marketing the product, right? So probably when you market it, there's going to be another 1,000 customers. So go ahead and green light this idea or green light this product, services, and so on. Right? So now it's 9. Since we've allotted enough time, are there any questions so far in the chat box? No, or is it just me?
No, there are no questions at the moment, Dr. Imran. So why don't we go ahead to our break for about 10 minutes? Would that be all right with you?
Yes, sure.
Okay, so this will be a 10-minute break, everyone. So get some stretches, get a drink, and then we'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Dr. Imran.